The command structure for Cobra is a little volatile. It's a little contentious to say the least, you know? It's about as stable as those relationships you see on 90 Day Fiancé, or I think more apt of a comparison, a delicious fresh-baked focaccia, you know? You gotta knead it, you gotta add a little bit of tension, add some spice for flavor, but if you overdo it, it'll collapse in the oven.
Look at that.
Making me hungry. Anyway, the point is, competition keeps everybody in Cobra on their toes, keeps them all on their A game. But it doesn't take away from the fact that my boy Cobra Commander always has a massive target on his back. It doesn't matter where on that totem pole you lie, everybody wants a shot at the high-strung dude in the blue suit to become the next leader. Tomax, Zaymot, Serpentor, Dr. Venom, even Voldo from Soul Calibur.
Versus Raphael. Two souls stand like towers as fate crashes into them.
Seriously, who is that guy? But there was one person who decided to break away from the pack and form his own cabal to rival Cobra, and that was Destro. Destro was established pretty early on as being more competent and charismatic than Cobra Commander, both in the original cartoon from Sunbow and the Marvel Comics, so it's only natural at some point he'd form his own splinter group. Tired of Cobra Commander's bullshit and shenanigans, Destro breaks away to form his own faction. The Iron Grenadiers, a group of elite mercenaries and soldiers, better trained, better armed, and better equipped than any Cobra. Destro may only recruit the best of the best for the Iron Grenadiers, but he is a man of honor and integrity, and sometimes that means no matter where they are, you always have to make sure you take care of your family. This is 1989's Iron Grenadiers Darklon, a nebulously distant relation of Destro. Some may say not distant enough, but I say much like Ron Howard keeping his brother Clint employed, Destro always takes care of his family.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Darklon immediately stands out clad in a green tiger stripe sweater with red pants, orange thigh-high boots, and a cameo-style codpiece.
Yes, I do.
Look, I like garish action figures and character designs, but this is a little much even for me. There are a lot of disparate elements at play here. Darklon really looks like three different figures cobbled together, and that even goes into all the weird little details on him, like a green knife on his boot, as well as a gold-painted bandolier of grenades on his shin. Now, he does have a sculpted-on, non-removable mask which obfuscates his identity, which I guess is similar to Destro in concept. Doesn't look like Destro. There's not very much family resemblance there. If anything, it looks a lot more like Jason X or maybe even a Bionicles mask. And for accessories, Darklon includes this massive machine gun, which I guess really differentiates him from the original Destro release, who had a teeny tiny pistol. I'm not saying Darklon's overcompensating, I'm just saying he really wants to show off how badass he is. Visually speaking, Darklon's just a horrific mess of a figure, and that really does come down to the color palette and placement. Whatever sculpt work the base figure has is immediately overshadowed by the horrific color placement. Having bold swaths of garish colors without any real breakup or any real pattern to them really is a detriment to the figure. Take a look at the Toxo Viper 2 here. He's garish, he's bright, he's eye-catching, but the colors are placed in a way that complement each other. See? That's how you do it. Darklon looks like he just got dressed in the dark, whereas the Toxo Viper 2 looks like he has a proper ensemble. Now, Darklon's release back in the day was a little weird. He wasn't a single-carded figure, he was a vehicle driver pack-in, but he wasn't a deluxe figure like Zartan, Zanzibar, Serpentor, or Iron Grenadiers Destro. Those guys all had, like, little air chariots or skiers they could zip-zop around in. Darklon has a kind of mid-scale, really stripped-back, low-budget vehicle called the Evader, a black and gold motorcycle tank skier that really looks like a banana. And to prove my point, here is the Evader. The only release that I think is comparable to Darklon is Overlord in 1990. This is the guy who looks like Voldo from Soul Calibur.
Versus Ivy. Two souls face each other head-on in fateful battle. A third doom scrolls awkwardly on his phone in the corner.
And he includes this weird treadmill thing called the Dictator. Look, Hasbro didn't even half-ass these vehicle releases, they quarter-assed them. And I understand this quarter-ass scale was meant to fill a price point, but the issue is the little bit of budget is being pulled in two different directions to make an unfulfilling action figure and an unfulfilling vehicle. Oh well, at least the back of the box has Darklon's write-up, and here we get to learn that not only is he a privateer, but he is a distant cousin of Destro from the Alps. You know, the Scottish Alps, of course. Yeah, alright, well, the Marvel Comics certainly bound to expand on this. Let's see. Darklon was introduced all the way in issue 88. Now, the last Joe video I did was on Major Blood, and we talked about issue, like, 15 or so of the Marvel Comics. So, as you can imagine, a lot of shit's happened since then. Alright, so yada-yadaing through all the big details, there's been a massive civil war within the ranks of Cobra. The original Cobra commander is missing, presumed dead. The contender to the throne, Serpentor, is also dead, and the last man standing is Fred 7, a Crimson Guard who's been impersonating Cobra Commander during the turmoil. See, Fred 7 may or may not have shot the original Cobra Commander in the back and took his identity in a panic. Baroness has been propping him up this entire time with her own little splinter faction.
The fuck kind of neighborhood is this?
People are under a lot of stress, Bradley.
During all these shenanigans, Destro's been leading his own faction, the Iron Grenadiers, and they've been sparring with both Cobra and G.I. Joe off and on. Now that they finally meet face to face, Destro is able to figure out that Fred 7's been impersonating Cobra Commander this entire time, and he uses that as leverage to take some leadership back in Cobra. The two factions now find themselves in an uneasy alliance with their armies merge. You caught up? Well, good, because now you find yourself in Darklonia, and seriously, where the fuck on the map is Darklonia? That sounds like it's some sort of Slavic hellscape. I think the writers confused the Alps for the Carpathians, because Darklonia sounds like it's kitty-cornered next to Vulcanvania.
Pick yourself up a couple of dolls!
Destro went out looking for long-lost family. You know what he found? Nothing but trouble. And you know what? Kind of like Dan Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble, the Destro family tree just keeps getting weirder, because in the Marvel Comics continuity, Darklon is not a distant cousin, he's Destro's half-brother. So depending on how you want to look at things, Destro's a black Scotsman with a brother from another mother in some Slavic hellscape. He's in love with the Baroness, who's some flavor of Eastern European, and he's related to Lady J, as established in the Sunbow cartoon. That episode also tells us he has a furry cult in his family, and Cthulhu in the basement of Castle Destro.
Spreads like a roaring tempest, like 1,000 fursuits storming the halls of a Marriott hotel.
Look, I'm just saying, I don't envy whoever draws the short straw and has to cook for the family reunion. And speaking of, Darklon's pretty confused about the situation between Destro and Cobra. Last time he checked, Cobra and the Iron Grenadiers were at each other's throats, and Destro sold him a whole bunch of surplus Cobra armaments. Then suddenly, Cobra Commander and Destro are buddy-buddy, and there's some shirtless dude in a daddy harness and monocle offering to paint up all of Darklon's vehicles. It's a pretty confusing day. See, Darklon's got a lot on his plate. The original plan for the day was he's going to sell all the overstocked goods that Destro sold him to the neighboring country of Walkokoland, which is some vague Eastern Bloc country that is now buying their goods from the United States of America.
Nobody needs America's help until they need it. Dang, no tunes!
Darklon's pretty peeved about the situation, understandably. He's got a bunch of unsold stock he's sitting on and a crumbling Eastern European country to take care of. But not to worry, we've got a new plan brewing up. You see that guy that Cobra Commander and Destro brought along? Well, he ain't your average leather daddy, because that is Cobra's chief scientific engineer, Dr. Mindbender. He's come up with a way for vehicles to evade radar detection that puts the dazzle in dazzle camouflage, and he calls it Pythonization. Vehicles are to be repainted in a checkerboard harlequin deco that resembles snakeskin. And these fashion-forward vehicles and runway-ready troops shall be dubbed the Python Patrol. And yes, this is the in-continuity reason for the Python Patrol repaint toys produced by Hasbro. Darklon's awesome new plan is to take the Python Patrol vehicles, invade Wakako Land in the middle of the night, capture their military forces, and then sell them the Python Patrol vehicles and profit. And you know what? This plan actually works. Sure, crossing the border with Cobra may have violated the Warsaw Pact and the Geneva Conventions, plus they got into a skirmish with G.I. Joe, but you know what? Darklon sealed that deal and made the sale, bringing honor to the Destro family name. I think that's a pretty good note to leave Darklon on. He does appear here and there in the rest of the Marvel series, but Really, his next biggest adventure would be nearly 30-40 years later in the Energon universe by Skybound/Image Comics that unites both G.I. Joe and the Transformers. And that little bit of a spotlight might be why he has a new figure. That's right, leapfrogging tons of classic Joes and Cobras. Darklon premieres in the 2025 wave of the G.I. Joe Classified series. I gotta say, somebody at Hasbro must really love Darklon. As an action figure, this toy is way better than it deserves to be. It does translate the original Darklon design pretty faithfully, flaws and all, and zhuzhes it up a little bit with some pretty cool little details, like the shoulder pauldron, as well as some new weapon accoutrement. Now, he still has the big doofy machine gun from the original version, but he also comes equipped with a little snub-nosed revolver, which is a pretty cool detail. It feels out of place on the character design like everything else, but I like it a lot. In my opinion, revolvers are some of the best action figure weapons out there. They look really cool and they're really photogenic. But oh no, we're not done yet. You see, while Destro can trace his family roots, his family origins, and heirlooms back to medieval tradition, Darklon found this sick lit bastard sword at Spencer's Gifts, and he really wants to show it off. But Darklon found something else at the mall. You see, that black mask from the 80s, it's old school and it ain't cool anymore. He's getting with the times with this silver skull with big tusks and an even bigger tongue. This is so edgy that you can cut yourself on it and hear Fred Durst in the distance.
Rollin', 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 rollin'.
And that makes Limp Bizkit the second worst thing to ever hit the World Trade Center. This new head sculpt is so edgy and so try-hard, it's kind of hilarious. Darklon legitimately looks like he's off of a new metal album cover with this. Like I said before, this figure is genuinely way better than it has any right to be. The articulation and engineering on display are very good, it has decent accessories, and great posability. The big thing holding it back really is the fact that it's Darklon, and adding in all the new metal edge really makes it hilarious and try hard. Look, I have no idea if Darklon truly is the Destro family embarrassment, but the fact that he's been freebasing Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, and drives a Banana-mobile certainly doesn't help with that reputation. Look, it doesn't matter if he's a half-brother or distant cousin, there's a reason why Darklon's all the way in the Eastern Bloc in Darklonia next to Walkuckle Land in Vulcanvania instead of partying at Castle Destro in the Scottish Highlands.